Hi, my name is Dax Hammond, and I'm going to be your host today. This is The Achievers, the show where we find brilliant people who are making things happen. If you'd like to consider being on the show, just go to jointheachievers.com/apply. Today, I'm joined by Josh, the CEO and founder of LavaBox. Now, in Josh's case, CEO stands for Chief Eruption Officer. And honestly, it's been a long time since I've seen a product take an industry and the world by storm quite as much as Josh's product has. Josh, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dax. Thanks for having us on. This is great.
LavaBox is not an obvious name for people to know what's going on. So tell us a little bit about the product.
No, it was actually, you can swing and miss, and that's okay. We start with a different name. I'll tell you, we did a kind of a mutual respect. We started out with a name called Volcano, and we thought we were being clever. We said, our product's inside of a ammo can. This will be really cute. It turned out there was a Volcano grill. I called the guy who owned Volcano Grill, and I said, hey, how do you feel about us using this? He said, I don't feel great about it. And I felt the lawsuit closing in, and said, no problem. But we liked that. We liked the Volcano theme. I had these visions of all kinds of fun marketing pieces. And so, and the spots seemed right to me. And maybe with my obsession with Joe versus Volcano when I was a kid. I don't know. Weird Tom Hanks thing.
There's motivation that comes from all parts of life.
It was deep. It was deep, Dex. But so we went ahead and stuck with LavaBox. And I think that's actually been great, having something really quick, really sharp, and but still memorable, and nothing that was a strange word. I was, I've had a few companies. I had a company that was called Oratus that was just for building, actually mostly Prezi presentations when I was a big developer for Prezi. And Oratus just never really caught. The LavaBox was simple. So I kind of learned a lesson there. And it was really easy to latch onto, sticky.
Naming matters, and good for you for also realizing that you had to check out trademarks early on. It's a trap a lot of founders fall into where they think, it doesn't matter right now. And then it really starts to matter later on. So our viewers and listeners can see a LavaBox at fireanytime.com. But for those people not sitting at their computer right now, describe what a LavaBox is.
Yeah, it's an incredibly simple product. It really is a burner inside of a kind of World War II / Vietnam style ammo can. So an ammunition canister. They're waterproof. They're made of steel, very tough. And they have a rubber seal inside, and that keeps them 100% waterproof. In fact, they just pulled out hundreds of them out of the Mekong Delta that was there from Vietnam, and they're all untarnished, totally fine. Ammo is still inside of them, totally shootable or whatever it is. Wow. So they really are an amazing, it was an incredible feat and the design idea from the military. And I said, this is something that we don't want to change too much. It's already a brilliant design. I'm not smarter than whoever designed this box. Let's put a fire inside of that box. And it's fully propane based. So it passes stage 2 fire restrictions, which are a big deal in the West. If you're watching this from the East Coast, this is something that might be foreign to you, but out here, this is a big deal. Once the fire ban is in place to protect us from wildfires, you can't burn anything that has some kind of combustion materials. So, obviously wood and those sort of things, charcoal you can't burn, but propane you can. And so I thought, let's put a burner inside of the toughest thing on earth and make a fire.
And so clearly this is a product with a niche, with a certain type of audience. What's your world? What's your background that means you saw this as something you wanted to solve?
This is I worked in the guide community, the rafting guides, and so that's universal. Everybody kind of has seen rafting, and it's always fun. And one of the ubiquitous items we have on the boat is a ammo can. They're they're waterproof. They're super tough, so they can flip over and hit a rock and splash around. So the guiding community was already really familiar with them. And then I also work with wounded veterans, and the ammo can just seems to be part of it's an artifact inside my world all the time. And so it just seemed like this thing that made a ton of sense. And then I was on a trip recently when we invented LavaBox, where someone's tasked me with making something. I'm a big tinkerer, and they tasked me with making something that was better than the other portable campfires out there. And I said, we should build an ammo can. Like I said, the thing that we see every time, we're very familiar with it. And so that's kind of what happened when that's my background. I actually have lived in the philanthropic world for a long time, but love to tinker and make things. And that's that's what happened here. So.
That's great. Now, obviously, it's not the first portable campfire. Why do you think this one has taken the outdoor world quite by the storm that it has?
It's funny. I think about this a lot, and there was some intentionality there, especially with the marketing piece of it. In the sense that a lot of our folks are entrepreneurs and thinking about that. But I wanted something that was very easily adopted and felt cool. And I think we often overlook how important cool is. And I think that, like, you think about brands like Yeti, they understood lifestyle. I would even argue that they were one of the first to really target lifestyle, especially after the internet age in marketing and branding. And they were very smart to make this part of what you do every day and how cool it is what you do. And I think that was part of our success too. I think it was vogue. It was chic to have this cool ammo can. Of course, we're at an interesting nexus right now where people think we're really caring about our veterans. And that was an important thing to me. And there's nothing more iconic in the military than the ammo can. Right. And I think it just was the right timing for that, especially on the branding side. Well,
and I think the way the box looks, it's such a classy design. It's simple. It's not fancy. The two-tone of the sort of metal on the side of the ammo can, etc., and the way you've played with that is great. Josh even actually has are you calling it the lava limousine? The truck
lava limousine
around it. And it looks great, right? With the flames down the side, etc. I mean, the whole brand just feels natural, feels right, and the domain of fireanytime.com, I think, is sort of a fun one. So you had this idea. How long was it from having the idea to then you thought, okay, I can do more than tinker with this?
Yeah, that's it was fast. I've launched a few products. I've tried. I've even written TV show treatments, all kinds of things. So it wasn't my first rodeo on that part. The big one was so I came home, Dax. I came home from our trip where I said, I'm going to go build this thing. I built 7 prototypes in about 48 hours. That's how crazy I am. And I got to number 7, was like, I like this one. The next day I said, all right, I'm going to make 40 of these. I sold them in a week. And I said, there's something here. There's something here. I found a guy in town to do a high heat powder coat for me for those first 40. I still have one of them. And we sold them right away. And I said, this is it. This is the one. Because I've tried other products. And I don't think it has to be the one. I don't want to discourage anybody who's saying they're going to put all their eggs in one basket, but I did strike out a bunch. But this one I knew had legs. I saw and I also thought about timing. We talk about it a lot, but like as we go in, in fact, I think Denver Post just ran an article yesterday, or maybe it's the front page today, talking about there's going to be no more regular campfires in the very near future in all of the state, year round. And so I think there was an incredible timing. I got very lucky on that. And then once again, the design was right and the product is right. And it just all happened at the right moment.
There is a wonderful principle known as smart luck that I love, right? It's most of us that have had any degree of success have had many elements of luck that we can point to on the journey to that success. The difference between luck and smart luck really is that smart luck is when someone like you recognizes that a bit of luck has just come along, and then you really dig in and double down to turn that into something. So
I really try to pay attention, I've always felt like I was kind of in tune with what was happening.
Yep.
I just felt like I missed a few times. Like I was really close. I wrote a piece of software for OnStar, if you remember that product.
That's the one in the car, right? You press
the one in the car. Yeah. And I wrote it was called Outdoor Atlas. It was a program that kind of helps you book all kinds of fun outdoor excursions, and pitched it to Ford. And it just so happened that we were really coming into the advent of the internet. And I just missed, like, the internet swamped your need for OnStar. And you guys saw, obviously OnStar kind of faded away.
A colleague of mine, her mom was the voice of OnStar.
Whoa, weird.
Yeah, I know. Isn't that amazing? I believe she is the boss of the group in the cartoon Archer.
Oh, wow.
Now as well.
Holy cow.
Which is a fun little...
Great show. Yeah.
Right.
But timing.
So you got this idea, it's starting to work, you're getting some traction, and then you're doing this during the biggest pandemic we've had in living history. Like, how did that affect plans? I mean, supply chain, everything went to pot.
It was tough. I mean, there's no other way to slice it. It was really tough, and we really struggled. Supply chain was hard. And it's funny. Because everyone was home and not building stuff, I felt like I at least I had a very captive audience, especially as I started to reach overseas. Like these guys weren't making any money. And this little guy came in and said, "Hey, will you do something small for me?" And they're like, "Yes, we'll do anything." Right at this moment, because everything was shut down. And these guys, I felt like I really captured their attention. I think if they were pumping out, like, great example is the ammo cans. I'm working with a guy right now who, before the pandemic, was doing 80,000 cans a month. And so when I know, right, one of the top suppliers for Walmart, big producer. And I came along and said, "Can you do 500? And he said, "Normally, no way."
Right.
He said, "For this moment when we have, Shanghai's shut down, I can't do anything." And I said, "Can you build these for me?" He's like, "Well, all my people, I can have 1 or 2 guys in the shop. We're running, 4-hour shifts only because that's all the electricity we're allowed to have." And so he was like, "I'll do it." Because he couldn't fill the other orders. He said, "I can fill these little orders now." I said, "Great." So I once again, very, very lucky. Now beyond, the smart luck was there because I talked to 40 people before I got to him. Not, maybe not 40, but probably 30. Wow. Yeah. Before I got to him. But it was, that was a real thing. And then the other piece of it that actually was a blessing and not a curse was the fact that we are a brand that can be online. It's comfortable to buy online. It's great for direct to consumer. You're not trying on a pair of shoes. You're not putting on a dress. Yep. And so people can see the product. And we did really well with just direct to consumer. People saw it. They wanted it. Camping was, camping by nature is pretty, distance inviting. You're trying to get away from people. There's the social distance pieces there. Right. And camping, I don't know if you know, but we've seen a huge increase in people using doing outdoors. Yeah. And so, even if
you look at the migration stats state by state, the growth of people moving to Colorado during the pandemic was enormous. And of course, the more people you've got wanting that sort of lifestyle, the more customers you essentially are going to create. I want to talk about the marketing side of it for a minute, but on this idea of sourcing these ammo cans from overseas providers, and obviously you couldn't travel there to check them out, etc. How did you ultimately pull the trigger? Was it just that there was one guy who would do a small order and you just took a risk, or?
So to say I was nervous is putting it very mildly, because I did bootstrap the whole project. We did not do a Kickstarter. We never pulled cash from anyone. I own 100% of the company. There's no dilution anywhere, actually, which I know sounds nuts these days, but that's how I wanted to do it.
No, there's a wonderful VC I love who's here between Denver and Boulder in Colorado. His name escapes me, but I remember listening to him speak a couple of years ago, and he said, the dilemma is that in many ways, they as a VC want to invest in the people who don't want the money, right? They sort of want to invest in people like you who are capable of doing it without them. And really, for a lot of founders, we've got this idea in mind that getting a big funding round is success, right? People put out a press release every time they get a funding round. You could also look at it that for some businesses that didn't really need it to do something unique that would take a long time to revenue, maybe it's failure to give up a piece of equity in exchange for money. And given you were able to do it, and now you still have 100% control and ownership, I would say that's probably right in your case.
It feels right for now. I mean, obviously, we need to have a round just to take the next big step. Oh. But I don't regret anything we've done so far.
Right. And your round is going to be so much more in your favor because you're not turning up in someone's office with a crappy PowerPoint presentation saying, "I've got this idea for a fire and an ammo box." Right.
And to your point, that they're coming to me. We're not sending out packages right now. They're trickling in on their own. So, and I think we're going to hit, once we hit that 15 to 20 million mark, I think we'll probably get bought. But
that's valuation or revenue.
Revenue. Yeah. And we'll do that in 5 years.
Great.
So I think that we'll move, and I'm going to the next project, and that's great. Right. But I'm glad I did it this way. The first 18 months have been great. And we're just ramping up fast. And could I done it faster and taken that, big piece? Maybe, maybe it wasn't worth it. I don't know.
You sacrifice a lot. I mean, the control piece is key. I mean, we've all seen deal sheets come from investors where they want total control, they want veto on everything. It's just not a preferable position to be in. So if you can get it to this point where you now have the leverage to keep control, that's a fundamentally different game you're playing.
It feels good. It definitely feels better. It's not nearly as scary.
No. You got something in your back pocket, right? When you walk into these places. So you got the product, you were happy with some of the finishes. How did you get it out into the hands of people initially? And what was the thing you did that suddenly started to get the volume flowing?
Yeah, actually the big one for me, and I'm still not a big believer of shows. I think that trade shows are kind of in a weird limbo right now. And we're actually, obviously we're seeing that with some local, very big outdoor shows that are struggling to even stay in state because the finances have been so poor. Their financials have been really tough and big companies are pulling out. However, to be totally fair, I saw a market in a place that wasn't obvious at first. I thought we were going to head towards the really basic camping groups. And then I realized that there was this contingent of new buyer that was in the overland space. Are you familiar with this? They're like
a little bit, but I don't think everyone will. Why don't you give them
it's pretty fresh. And of course they've always been there, but it's a new idea. And we've seen a ton of really great manufacturers come together and build incredible car parts. Amazing lifts to their vehicles, giant, beautiful tires and wheels and safari racks and all kinds of gear. And it didn't dawn on me until I kind of saw the numbers of people who are showing up to shows for this. And they're enormous. They are enormous. I had no idea this was the crowd. And I've had cool trucks and things. I thought, this is good for me. I like this. And so I went to the Overland Expo here in Denver, actually in Loveland, not far from here. And 100,000 people, tons of eyeballs, great, incredible sales. They a really great group of people, very nice, love being outside, and it's fully accessible. I mean, it's a very different. If you're a hardcore mountain biker, you have to be fit. You have to have, there's some bars there. There's some tough entries sometimes. And for this off-road crowd, it can look like me and be fine. Just show up in your great car, have a great time, and don't, it really is about, you can be a kind of a gearhead, or you can just buy a great vehicle. And then the LavaBox is the perfect camping vehicle, perfect thing to go with your camping vehicle. So it's kind of an American safari. I don't know how else to equate it to something else, but that's how I feel. It's like these guys are going on these cool safaris and they're driving all over the fire roads all over Colorado, and they've got their LavaBox and they love it. They need tough things too. That's just like raft guys. They need really tough things.
And I suppose if they're going short trip, they can just take a mini propane. They don't.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and they actually have propane decks built into their vehicles. So it's all
really.
Oh yeah, these are incredible vehicles. I'm astonished by the stuff these guys do is amazing. Actually, wow. It's really bright and it's a really neat market. So I've been excited and honored to be part of it, just to watch it grow. And it's dominating the trade show world.
And so you started going to those, and you started exhibiting, or you just started turning up at first and showing it to people?
I went to one, and my sales quadrupled in 2 weeks.
Wow.
And then I really hammered social. Cause I think it's a product that looks great.
Yes.
And on internet, it looks great. And I did start pulling in influencers. But my total spend has been very, very low. And you're going to laugh. It's probably been less than $2,000 for 18 months. Yeah.
If you've got a product and you feel like you've got any sort of personal presence, just getting out on social media and putting a product that's going to catch people's attention out there, nobody needs to be going and spending fortunes with agencies to do it, as you've just proved. But what was your experience like with influencers? Because I think that word's been tarnished so much. I sort of hate it because it's a bit shysterish, I think, sometimes.
Did I say it with disdain? I didn't mean to.
No, you didn't. I'm the one bringing the disdain from, I think, some experiences people have. Who did you find? How did you find them? How did you know they would do an okay job?
Yeah, I didn't, and I missed. So I've probably pulled in about 10 so far. Then the best one was somebody who just loved the product, doesn't charge me anything. There's zero contract there, and she does a wonderful job for me. I had others who just wanted discount codes to build their audience, that sort of thing. And then I had others who wanted to cut. So it's, and they wanted a certain number of points on every sale, blah, blah, blah. And so it's all across the board. It's the Wild West. There are no rules, which is kind of good for as an owner, because I can kind of say, the bar is 20,000 followers on Instagram.
Right.
If you don't have that, first of all, don't call. We're not interested, which is tough, but that's where we are in the world and that part of it. And then I think, and then the second part is I need X number of presentations. I need these many hero shots. I need this, and this. And if they don't deliver it, it's that's the hard part, is where do enforcement's difficult. I send out product everywhere, but I will tell you this, I don't think any of it was a real loss. I think putting the product in people's hands, even if they shot one video, was fine. But then it dawned on me about 6 months in, I was like, you know what? And you may disagree, but I think it's working out pretty good for us. I just kind of took away all the bullshit. Oops, sorry. All the
right. I don't think we're going to have many underage people watching this. I think you're okay.
All the manufactured shots and all the super staged videos and spots, and I said none of that matters to me anymore. I just asked users to send in things, and I think it's been incredibly effective.
Yeah.
Creating an evangelist from every person I talk to. And I talk to them personally. I mean, it's we've sold about 4,800 units, and every single one of those people I've talked to at some point. I know it sounds crazy, but it's just to get, I care about them. I want them to care about the product. I want them to know I care about them. And so, and they send me pictures.
That's fantastic.
Nonstop, and they're great photos.
We have this advantage now for many reasons, where marketing shifted from the glossy, the polished, the expensive video shoot, photo shoot. People now want authenticity. And what's great for a founder like you is that means you don't necessarily have to go spend a whole bunch of money doing photo shoots and video shoots. People with your product, looking at it, using it, taking pictures, taking videos, that does more good than something polished. Yeah. But you have to put the legwork in that you're putting in, where you're talking to these people. Otherwise, why would they do it, right?
No, they won't do it. But I have found that people, when they love the product, they love the product.
Yeah,
and they love repping the brand. And I, once again, it was intentional. I went in from the beginning saying, I'm going to be like Yeti. I'm going to make people love my product and love the company and love what we're doing. And of course, there's a philanthropic part we haven't talked about, but
yeah.
It's an important thing we're doing. And that's not BS. That is we have to figure out how to slow down human caused wildfires, period. Yeah. Millions and millions and millions of dollars just in Colorado alone, in, blood and treasure, which I don't mean to diminish it. It's just, that's where
reality,
we're at.
Yeah.
And so it's, I think that they understood the mission. And I know I don't want to, I use the word mission, but it really is like, I'm kind of on a mission.
Yeah.
And I want to have good sales because I want to eventually make this happen, make people switch gears.
I think what really feels so authentic with you, Josh, is you've got the background that has proved your philanthropic desires. You spend a considerable amount of your time going out and taking people on rafting trips that otherwise would never be able to have an experience like that. And so I think when you have somebody like you who already has those beliefs and then they apply it to a product or a service that they believe in, that is why you get this sort of traction. So what are you doing with veterans right now?
So we donate. It's not going to sound like a lot yet. My plan is to make it a whole lot. We do $1 for every can that we sell to my favorite charity, which is Team River Runner. It's a group that teaches whitewater kayaking to wounded veterans. And so we use fully adaptive equipment. I've been doing it for over 10 years now, and I run the Denver chapter. And we have, usually about 15 to 20 vets in the chapter at any given time. But it's a very different kind of thing. And because I love whitewater kayaking, I like to do what I wanted to do. And I always tell people in chair, if you're going to go do something, if you don't have a passion, it's great that you went to the soup kitchen, but if you didn't have a passion for it, maybe you only do it once.
Right.
So find something you like to go do, because there are people who like to go to the soup kitchen, or they like to pick up trash. They like to do, whatever. So,
right.
And I like kayaking, and I like teaching kayaking, and I like teaching kayaking to wounded veterans best. And so that's what keeps me there. And so we do $1 for every can. And actually any contract going forward, especially for any VCs who may be watching this and want to talk, that's just a piece of it. And that's the only non-starter I really have, is that philanthropic piece has to be in there. That means something to me.
It should. I think you're fortunate with your timing that there is a lot of investment happening where people want it to have a doing good element. And of course, that's a very direct positive impact. Indirectly, though, I mean, this has a environmental positivity. The wildfires, as you're talking about, I mean, people hear the California stories on the news. If they live on the East Coast, they probably don't hear the Colorado ones quite as much. It's a devastating change to our world out here. So if this really helps prevent that, then that's fantastic. Have you worked much with fire crews or fire departments? Have they had any feedback or input on this?
I have. So I actually am also a red card holder myself, upland firefighter. So which is just a funny coincidence, really. I got certified in so scary 1995 and worked on a prison crew. So we got called a lot because they're always home. So
that's funny.
I was not in prison, to be fair. I was just on the prison crew. So, so we did a lot of upland firefighting, but, yeah, I've shown it I first took it to Golden Fire Department, which is another local town outside of Denver. And that actually was one of the things that solidified the product. They said, this is amazing. And wanted to buy one right there. And this is, I just wanted to go local and just kind of get a feel for it. But now we've shown it to BLM, the National Park Service that runs Grand Canyon, and all of them have endorsed it, love the product. And that makes my heart soar like an eagle. I mean, that's the one. When you get the Grand Canyon, that's a tough one. Yeah. The Grand Canyon, obviously we treat it as a treasure just because it is. And they're very, very strict. And to have them endorse a product like ours to say, this is the one, that's a big deal. That's awesome. We made it a big deal too. We should probably talk about it more, but sometimes it doesn't resonate with folks. So they don't know what it means, but in our circles, it's a huge deal. So I'm getting goosebumps.
and Josh mentioned then the acronym BLM. So for those of you that don't know, that aren't as outdoorsy, it's the Bureau of Land Management, and they essentially look after and control a massive percentage of the United States, right?
Absolutely. And the BLM actually is a really special thing, to have this much national land that you can just access. There are not a whole lot of places in the world that have this kind of thing, this arrangement where the public can just go and access wilderness areas like this. So it's a very special part of the US, and they're serious about it. They protect it.
Yeah. and if our viewers have never looked into this, during COVID, for instance, my wife and I had to do the drive to San Diego and back, which is a 2,500 mile round trip. We had to do it 3 times for a family reason. And you can go on that BLM app, and it will just tell you anywhere you are, places you can just pull up your car, you can car camp, you can put up a tent or whatever. We stayed one time right off the extraterrestrial highway near Area 51 one night. Nice. And we stayed near Kings Canyon. I mean, it's a fantastic resource that I don't think people quite realize we've got. Especially
if you're in the West or if you're in the East, you don't know about BLM land, and then you come out here and you realize it's almost infinite. It feels that way.
Well, it's like when you drive through Nevada, right? There's nothing in Nevada.
Yeah, it's all BLM land.
Yeah, it's all.
Camp anywhere you want. Just don't burn it down.
Do you? I'm curious. Do you still have doubts about this, about the business?
Oh yeah,
you do. What do you do when you get those doubts?
It's a really good question. Mostly drink a lot. No, I don't. Just kidding.
Sometimes it helps.
I will tell you this. About 4 months ago, I decided that the doubt was a waste of time. I know this sounds, I don't mean to sound like an egoist, or I I just realized it was a waste of time. Like I was like, why am I doing this? I have to believe I'm going to win. So in whitewater kayaking, you have to believe, especially at the level that I paddle at, you have to believe you're going to make it. There is no option. A lot of the stuff I paddle, class 5 plus, especially when I was younger, there is no option to say, I hope I make it.
Right.
You can only believe you're going to make it. And I, about 4 months ago, I was like, you know what? Doubt's a waste of time. We're just going to do it. And that's a very tough wall to climb over and say, okay, I'm going to be there in that space. Because it's liminal, it's strange. It is scary, but you just don't have time for it to be scared either. That's right. The same thing with boating. It's a weird analogy, but
no, I don't think so. I think it works well, right? I mean, you're in a dangerous, precarious situation where if you're not committed to the water that you're paddling down, it's going to kill you, literally.
Yeah. Literally.
Yeah, so that's great. I think it's something many of us struggle with often when we're building businesses, and you have to find some way to manage it. And that's a great way you've managed it.
We all have moments. I still have moments, of course, but then I just say, we don't have time for that.
Right. A lot of us have to try and find the balance between building something new and sort of family and things. How's that been for you, particularly during COVID, when, of course, we were all locked up in the same house?
Yeah, I have a very supportive family. And my spouse is incredible. So she saw the vision too, which was really nice. In fact, I just had lunch with a friend who is also an entrepreneur, and her spouse is not seeing her vision. And that's just so hard. It's hard for me to hear. I said, how do you get him across the finish line? How do you have him see what you're seeing? And that's tough. I don't really have great advice there. I would say that to be expressive and iterative and explain where you're going, I think helps a ton. And make sure they feel like you're checking in, because they're seeing your successes. And I think a lot of partners might think, gosh, why am I not having that success? We're all humans.
Right.
And I think that if my spouse wasn't so successful already, I think it would be much more difficult. So I think it's important to check in with them, and of course the kids too. I bring the kids in on everything. So I tell them everything we're doing, which is probably, they probably leak it too much, but but it's great. And they feel like it's important. And, we actually are about to release a really great commercial. And I said, no actors, no fakes. Right. It's gonna be our family, and it's provincial and maybe it's a little down homey, but I think it's going to resonate. I think we will get it. Again,
authenticity is really what people want that message to be. And you have a social product. I mean, that's the reality of it. Why not include them? So before we wrap up here, what's next? You're receiving offers, unsolicited offers for investment. You're in a lucky, well fought for position of being able to earn those and be able to have some degree of control and confidence going into those meetings. What do you think the sort of biggest challenges and excitements are of what comes next for LavaBox?
I think for, personally, I think I'm really focused on not getting bogged down by some of the huge financial decisions I have to make. So I'm trying to keep perspective. Mm-hmm. And I think that's actually the biggest challenge right now, is because it is very sexy to hear you're going to make 110 million in the next 10 years or whatever. They're throwing out huge numbers. For a raft guide, it's pretty cool. Right. But the perspective is important for me. I don't want to freak out. And I'm also like I'm kind of preparing myself to just go ahead and make the next thing. Like I said before, when we were saying, I would sell. The price is right. I would sell, and I'm not attached to saying I'm only going to make one winner. Right. I think that happens to a lot of entrepreneurs, especially people I talk to in my circles right now. They're like, this is the one I'm hanging my hat on. And I think that's a huge mistake. I think you have to stay fresh, keep looking, stay hungry, because maybe this one makes you some money, but maybe it doesn't. Maybe it's not right. That's a tough one. I know
it's a really interesting topic, right? Because on the one side, when you have something that is resonating and doing well, you want to capitalize on it as much as you possibly can. And a common mistake of founders is they will do two things. And for some people, two things is too much, right? Now, I could totally see you having another product and that all being part of the same sort of family, same sort of audience. And that really still be you doing the same thing. It's a big decision you got to make.
We'll see what happens. I could fall into that trap. I wanted to build out the store, so we definitely have ancillary products that are really selling well. I made sure we protected them. I mean, I tell that to any founder, because I've made that mistake. I made that mistake with OnStar. I made that mistake with a TV show I wrote. I didn't protect things. And so that's huge. But I think you're right. I think I just don't want to become myopic, I guess is what I want to say. I want to make sure I stay that picture, the big picture's out there. And I want to surround myself with really great people to keep the product, this company, driving forward.
Yeah.
But I want to make sure I stay loose.
You have a unique insight, obviously, into this industry, into this community of people, a community that's bringing in new people with the Outlander movement, but rafting, camping, whether it be casual or people sort of more serious and life committed to it. And so that's where a tremendous amount of your value is. You're clearly an individual who can understand what's happening and then translate that into a product need that people want. So there's a strong argument that says you keep doing that and finding more things to add. And of course, for anybody who sells direct to consumer, other things in your store, if you can increase that AOV and get anytime you then expand into like paid media, of course, you're going to get a better return because people are buying more stuff. So,
yeah, I will say that my AOV focus has been really important, especially with design. I think people forget that. Because you can design a great product that does it all, but did you want that to actually happen? Did you miss an opportunity to sell an additional piece of that product that you didn't have to include? I see it all the time in the market. I'm like, why didn't they make that a separate product that they produce for, they produce for they sell for 3X? Fascinating to me. I think it's a huge miss. Maybe I'm just being judgy, but
hell, you can only do this if you have opinions, right? It's not judgy. I mean, your opinion is as valid as anyone else's here, and there are always going to be in a direct consumer marketing world people who want to buy the highest, the best, the biggest package, every add-on, every extra product, every companion product possibly that goes with it. You're always going to have those people, and those people will be much higher profit margin over time. Definitely.
I just want to create more of them.
Right. Right. No, I get it. I mean, I was reading the other day about it's become very popular on sites, particularly for software, right? Where there's three prices, and the old thing that marketers are taught is the middle price is the one that people go for. I was reading more about the movie theater popcorn analogy, where they actually have a very different approach, which is generally if you go into a movie theater, I haven't been to one since COVID, so maybe it's different, but I doubt it.
No, I don't think it's changed.
They have a small, medium, large, extra large, right? And the price difference between small and medium and large is relatively similar. But then the difference between large and extra large is a tiny amount. And it's that price difference that in reality is popcorn. So the cost of producing an extra large versus a small is largely negligible. So they're lucky in that case. That drives people to buy the extra large, which they never would have done. They never would have bought the large without the extra large there, and they always would have gone with the medium. Absolutely. That idea of having those pricing choices by you being able to package more things in there allows you to start playing with that stuff, right?
And I think that, I absolutely agree. And if you look at our pricing, it follows that model. One of the other core components to that whole AOV rise is the having one item at least that you have to click through and decline. If we're going to let all the secrets out, that's another big one for us, is that it's a great product. It's a great ancillary add-on product, but you have to say no. And you want to say yes.
I was in Target the other day, and the lady in front of me bought a crappy little round waffle maker. I think it made like a heart-shaped waffle. Fine, whatever floats your boat.
Yeah.
And it was like $13, right? And the woman who was checking her out said to her, because it came up on a screen, "Would you like the extended warranty on that product. It's $3.95 or whatever it was. It was under $4. And the woman just instinctively said, yeah, sounds like a great idea, right? For a $13 waffle maker, she won't even remember, I bet, that she had that warranty. And
of course not.
just made a free $4 on something that's probably never going to be claimed against. Now, I don't believe in tricking people. I believe you should be offering things of value, but there are lessons to be learned by that nonetheless, where a lot of those
100%.
people say, yes, great, let's do this.
Well, and I think there is a piece of it where you don't force folks to dig through your site. Like you want to help them know what's the right thing. So in our case, it's a carrying bag, which is really nice because it carries the regulator, it carries the grill that we offer, and it carries your core, our flagship product, the LavaBox. And I don't know that we know they're not spending more than 2 minutes on the site, period. Right. Even when they're making a sale. We didn't talk about it, but analytics are a huge piece of how I run the business. But I know they're spending about right now 2 minutes and 17 seconds on the site on my average.
So little, isn't it?
It's so little. And for them to try to figure out with their having dinner and their their family and blah, 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 and they're trying to figure this out, or they're not working. They're just they're screwing around on their phone. Right. I want them to see that the bag is there. And so adding the bag in, and we've seen a massive increase of bag sales because we added that one question. And I don't want to make a million questions. It's annoying. I don't like that. Sure. But if I was going to miss, I wouldn't want to miss it.
Well, it's something that makes sense.
Yeah,
right? I mean, that's the reality. Is you've bought this thing, it'd be great to have it in a bag. It's very appealing if you can make a business with some sort of ongoing subscription revenue. Is there something that you could do or exploring around like small camping propane tanks, et cetera, on a subscription basis?
So I actually cannot reveal that. I'm in the middle of a patent process, but I will have a subscription-based product. I'm probably ready in about 4 months.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
And it's a cool one. It's really fun. And it was something we knew the market liked and was hungry for. And so I think it's going to be, it's far more not so camping centric. It's definitely something that everybody can enjoy. It's fun to have at parties. And so you'll see that come out pretty soon. It's a refillable product.
Okay, great. I love it. Yeah. Love it. Josh, it's been a real pleasure. You've really achieved so much with this product so far, and it's great to see you getting incoming offers and other people getting excited about it. And the philanthropic thing is great. What was the charity that the money goes to again? Thank you. It's Team River Runner, and they're teamriverrunner.org. So if you're listening to this, consider going and looking at that website, maybe making a donation for Josh. It really is such a great organization. Or get involved. Get involved with, you don't have to be a great kayaker. Just come out and hold people's hands and make sure they don't drown. That seems probably like number one criteria, right? Low bar here. Drowning. Yeah, that's great. Bar. Thank you very much, Josh. It was a pleasure. Thanks, Dax.